Hey everybody, Dutch Sense here. 3:19 p.m. Central Time on Saturday, November 22nd, 2014. And I've got you looking at Earthquake 3D here, which is a USGS feed of the most recent earthquakes. And we're only going to be looking at large earthquakes that have happened over the past couple days. And as you guys know, if you're a viewer or reader of mine, I had to break off and go into real life here for a little while and go take care of personal business at a new job and stuff. So I haven't been able to do the updates that I normally would do earthquake-wise. But in the last 72 hours, the last 3 days since I've done my last earthquake update, you can see here in the East Pacific, there's just been a few 5.0 earthquakes that have occurred. However, let me bring you over here to the West Pacific and show you what's happened in the last 3 days. You can see here a series of large earthquakes has happened in South Central Pacific, west of Papua New Guinea in Indonesia, 6.5. That started out as a 7.0. Then there was a 6.3 magnitude earthquake here in central China, which you can see on the screen here. That should be scrolling by. That caused some serious damage in the region in central China. Now the USGS downgraded that to a 5.9, but originally 6.3. That was earlier today, same day. And then a 6.8 magnitude earthquake, now downgraded to a 6.2, struck in central Japan. And let me just turn these down, zoom in a little bit so you can see where these are occurring. So here's our 6.8, now 6.2 in central western Japan, Nagano Prefecture, and then the 5.9, originally 6.3, here in central China, same day. It's a lot of movement to see. And again, let me just turn this up so you can get an idea of the possible affected areas of these. The higher these are off the planet, the deeper they are into the Earth. This is an Earthquake 3D feature. So we have a few deeper events, but most of these are very shallow. And let me turn on another view here. We'll take this down one notch to 4.0 and greater. And again, keep in mind this is the last 3 days. And we'll take a look at the last week too so you can get an idea of what's happened this past week. So again, East Pacific, fairly quiet. One spot here in Central California showing some activity. When I take this down for the last 7 days, though, you can begin to see the global unrest that's occurring. But again, here in the West Pacific, just take a look at it. And we'll turn the rings down so you can just see the fault line affected areas, and it spills right across Asia, going over to Europe and terminating in Greece. In the United States, Craton still being displaced, and now look what happened, guys, since the last update that I did. Did the update on the borderline 4.0 that struck in Alabama, said to watch the edge of the Craton going up the East Coast. Look what we got. 2.5 in North Georgia, right along the edge of Appalachia. And if you have any questions that it's the actual edge of the Craton, let me go ahead and show this to you here really quick. We can go ahead and turn on Google Earth and look up the coordinates from the USGS. And I recommend that you guys do this. For all the earthquakes that you see that happen in areas where you don't normally see earthquake activity, to go look up the earthquake. It's not hard, just cut and paste the coordinates from the USGS right in on Google Earth. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the borders and labels just so you can understand this is North Georgia border right here. And let's just turn that off so you can see the Craton. All right, now you can understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the edge of the Craton. You see how it goes all the way up the East Coast and goes up into New Brunswick and then terminates at the split in the continent. Let's follow it down the other way, down through Oklahoma at the fracking operation. Once you get down here to the south, it almost looks like it stops, but actually if you zoom in, you can follow the range and it's actually bent and it literally comes up here through Oklahoma, and then you can see it pick up right here. Now this is the old river plain from the Mississippi, so that makes sense that would be weathered down, and then you can just follow it back all the way over, and we can just back it out. Then you get to the Rocky Mountain range, and it spills back up to the northwest. And then we have the deformed defined edge of the Craton seen here. Oh boy, I need to turn all these off. You can see the deformed edge, and then you can see the defined edge. and defined edge comes right up and meets up at the Rocky Mountains, goes up all the way up here to Alaska, where it bends and curves some more. And we see all this movement up here. We see movement developing in Nevada. Let me turn the borders back on now. Movement happening here in Nevada. Bunch of pressure building here to the northwest, and it's pushing and displacing the entire plate back to earthquake 3D. You can see, trace the earthquakes right along that edge that I just showed you, and we've got a defined craton being moved in the last 7 days, which they said could never happen, which, of course, geology and earth physics, geophysics is always changing, so we're always learning something new about the way Mother Nature deals with internal pressure in the planet. And that's what's going on here, guys. There is a deep perturbance occurring. You can see these deep earthquakes here. These are happening in the asthenosphere. The asthenosphere is an area deep in the earth, about 300 to 350 miles deep, where semi-melt magma exists, and the plates rest on top of that melted material. So when we see a movement happening at that depth, and then follow up with large-scale earthquake activity at a shallow level, that to me says, well, the perturbance that's happening at a deep level is causing large earthquakes to happen at a shallow level, and as long as we see the deep movement, we're going to continue to see the large shallow movement. So the last week just shows, of course, we've been watching it, but now it's starting to play out, guys. So Japan, China, Indonesia, and going right on over to north of New Zealand. Let's look at everything 6.0 and greater in the last 7 days. And there's 5. Well, a lot of these were revised down to 5.9s, so we'll put the 5.9s in there because they were originally 6.0s, and that lets you know, look, okay? So that's a lot of activity to occur. Swarm locations are the spots we need to watch, so you can see a few areas standing out above all others as areas where we need to watch. And you might want to watch the area in between both swarm locations, which in this case would be the Philippines, going down to Sumatra. Right in here, you've got a cluster here and a cluster here, both containing large earthquakes that are spilling up into Japan, spilling west into China. That means this area here is under extreme pressure, and we can expect compensation movement along the perimeter edges of the area under extreme pressure. And of course, the area right in the middle. Time and time again, we see pressure transfer each side and then finally culminate with a large earthquake right in the middle of the area that you'd expect it to occur in. Okay? Have an earthquake plan ready. Be prepared just in case, guys.